The knight with the shining armor is a very real notion in Israeli politics. Along the years, no less than 13 former IDF chiefs of staff have jumped into the political quagmire, from Moshe Dayan through Yitzhak Rabin to Benny Gantz, not mentioning a long row of other big shots from the military like Ariel Sharon. And befitting any other pre-election campaign season here in Israel, the next big personality to enter the political arena is an IDF chief of staff, Gadi Eisenkot, who's being wooed after from left to right. So what is it about ex-generals that gets Israelis to get their hopes up every single time one of them decides to become a politician?
Mao Zedong used to say that war is politics with bloodshed, and politics is war without bloodshed.
The first generation of generals, I think of those great generals like Moshe Dayan or Yitzhak Rabin, they were born in Israel, but the political Ashkelon was outside of Israel. So Israel had a political culture which was separated from the military culture. And as Israel grew up as a nation, the generals started taking position in the political Ashkelon.
For many of them, this is a natural move, because when they climb up the ladder and they become general, they have to deal with the political military situation. They form their own ideas, yet they are not allowed to express their political views.
But something in this transition from the high military ranks to the benches of parliament that was perhaps successful in the past appears to be shaky nowadays.
Military does not represent a win-win situation. Military is about winning the battle when one dies and the other lives. So if we talk about a world that is about negotiation, about win-win, and about sort of not a zero-sum game, so that contradicts to the military organizational perspective.
There is a decrease in the status of generals. And what I see today is that in order to counter Netanyahu, you have to form a party that has 3 chief of staff.
Consider that I'm a seasoned general and you're a young politician, and we sit over coffee. I just left the army. You're 20 years or 10 years, even or 15 years in the corridors of political powers. And I ask you one question. I ask the two of you. I ask the general and the politician, where is the border? So immediately the general says, well, Lebanon, Syria, and for the politician, the border is right here. It's between them. It's on the table. Because the generals, they never understand the way that teams are being produced and break in politics.
But it's not just an issue of individual journeys. The military presence in the political arena had and has a great impact on the country's perspective and actions.
These are people that grew up looking at the enemy through binoculars, through the level of the rifle, through intelligence reports. They don't look at the enemy as a person we talk to, we deal with when we look for a win-win situation. So when you take these capabilities and try to translate them into a world that is less about power, less about force, more about negotiation, more about being able to create synergies, these concepts fail.
I used to say to generals that are entering in, for example, Benny Gantz before he entered, and other friends of mine, that you have to think about it like this. There's this, you're crossing into the politics and you come with some assets. For example, your ranks, your glory. But once you cross, okay, you have to understand it's a double or nothing game. Either you lose all the assets or you double and you get it in a currency which is political.
Israeli society carries simultaneously the idea that we are one of the strongest nations in the world on the one hand, and on the other we are on the verge of collapsing every given moment in time. So as long as this dichotomy lives, so we need the military, we need the systems that can protect us, and as long as that is the case, we will continue to believe that the generals are our saviors.
Judging merely by statistics, admired ex-generals are usually not so admired politicians. Now, Gadi Eisenkot might very well be a great addition to Israel's parliament and other decision-making forums, but with big expectations, you almost always get big disappointments. And maybe it's up to Israelis themselves to at least try and reduce the hype surrounding every new ex-general for the sake of their own potential success and, more importantly, for the sake of the stability of Israel's political arena.